Today on the podcast, I have my friend Karen, a fellow hygienist. She's going to share her story about a corporation that recently took over her small practice. Karen's worked at this one doctor type practice for a couple of years, and just recently this corporation bought it out. And things changed quite a bit, and Karen wasn't very happy about the situation. So she's going to share that story with us in a few minutes. Today's sponsor is the cone adapter. The cone adapter allows you to attach the popular Isolite mouthpieces directly to your HVE valve. What the Isolite mouthpiece does for you, it provides cheek retraction, tongue retraction, bite block, and suction all in one. As a hygienist, I use it for air polishing, scaling root plating, and sealants especially. I've been using it for about 4 years now. I also have a dry shield version, which is another type mouthpiece that's very similar. So for more information about that, you can check out Kona, K-O-N-A, adapter.wordpress.com. And now here's the interview with Karen. All right, Karen, so just start with when you got hired at this one doctor practice, and then go from there.
I got hired at a small practice, private practice, back in 2009, and I have worked there very happily and very pleased with how everything was run for the past 6 years. Mm-hmm. Recently, my dentist, he's getting older, he had opportunity to sell his practice. When he did this, he also wanted to get out of the building that he was in. So the people that bought our practice also bought this new practice that I'm working at. So they merged us in because we were so small in with this other practice. Unfortunately, the personality and the mantra, I guess, of this practice was total opposite of my previous practice. When I first started working, it was all about patient care. It was a very family-oriented, very warm and caring practice where family members for generations have been coming to this practice. This new practice that we merged into is, I'm going to say it, it's like a factory. And
how did you find out about it? Did he tell you about it, or did it just...
We got a notification that he was going to merge, and he was selling his practice about a month before we did this. And he assured us that our pay was going to stay the same, everything was going to stay the same. And then we had an interview with the people that were buying it, and they also said that everything for us would stay the same. Unfortunately, that was before everything was signed on the dotted line, and they probably just said anything they wanted to suck my doctor in to get him to, sign on the bottom line, because they want the patients, they want his practice. So we merged in with this other practice, and what I very quickly discovered was, first of all of my appointments were condensed from, I lost all 60-minute appointments. And then they were throwing as much as they could into my 45-minute appointment as they could bill for. For example, if I had a patient that was due for a full mouth series, I would schedule myself an hour, 60 minutes, instead of the usual 45 minutes, because it's just more time consuming to take an FMX. So, nope, I have to do an FMX, a cleaning, have the dentist come in and reset my room in 45 minutes, which it's going to, especially if the patient is a gagger or there's issues with the FMX, sometimes I maybe have maybe 8-10 minutes to clean the teeth before the dentist has to come in, because I have to give him at least 7-8 minutes for the exam, and then how long does it take to reset a room? That also, and then you have the next patient. So anytime I have an FMX like that, or sometimes back-to-back FMXs, forget about that. I just get way behind, and then they yell at me for being behind. Sometimes I'll lose my lunch hour, because to me it's all about the patient care. But to give good care, you need the time to do it. So I'm being penalized the time that I need to give the good quality care that I want to give my patients. So this is really wreaking havoc with me. Another thing that they do too, like I had a couple of kids come in. So they look at what insurance is paid for as far as sealants are concerned. So again, I have a 45-minute appointment. In that 45-minute appointment, they have set for me to do a cleaning, an exam, a panoramic x-ray, 2 bite wings, place 8 sealants, have the dentist come in, and then apply fluoride. I'm supposed to do this all in 45 minutes. But at this point, my job has been threatened there because I think that my dentist was very generous to me. I had a good hourly rate, which I'm still keeping. And, but the other hygienist in the office does assisted hygiene. So she doesn't even get an hourly rate. She's commission only.
Right.
So she is,
pumping it out.
But most of the patients that have been coming in from my practice, they see this. They don't like it at all. They've been like, that's another thing too that cuts into my time. I have to explain to my patients everything that's going on. And
the big change, basically.
The big change, that they're still going to see me, that they're still going to see my dentist, that he's still there. We just merged in because of, personal choices made by the dentist. So I've assured my patients that nothing's going to change. But another problem too is how they treat the patients. Apparently this practice they take mass health, so they've been mainly taking a lot of mass health patients. So they don't even look at the patient like a person. It's like it's money in the door. So they treat the patients, the patient comes in, the person at the front desk doesn't even look up at them, doesn't acknowledge them, doesn't say hello.
And they care less about the patient having to wait because they just see it like, hey, they have mass health, they're going to wait. It's free insurance, whatever.
Right, exactly.
Whatever the attitude is.
Right, well, that's their attitude. That was never our attitude.
Right,
Never our attitude.
Yeah.
I mean, my dentist, he would tend to run behind, but he was a perfectionist, and his patients all knew that and accepted it.
Right.
I mean, we did lose some patients because of that he ran behind, but if he was running behind, he always had the courtesy to have the front desk person call the patients and tell him, I'll come a little bit later because I'm running behind, or if he would always take emergency patients in too, and that would sometimes cause him to run behind. And sometimes he would make me run behind because I would be waiting for him to come in for an exam, and I'd have to keep, nudging him.
Right,
Are you coming in for an exam?
Like what?
Right. And so I still have to deal with that in this new surrounding, but I had to actually have a conversation with my dentist and tell him everything that's going on. I says, my job has been threatened here. I had, after 2 weeks of being in this practice, they came at me with, a bunch of trumped up stuff because this practice that we merged in with got really no notice that we were coming there. So immediately, myself and his assistant were treated like the redheaded
like
stepchild.
outsiders.
Outsiders. Oh yeah. And they were just on us constantly, criticizing everything we did, the way we did everything. It still goes on. So I still worry about them going to cut my job. I've already contacted a lawyer who happens to be one of my patients, so he knows me as a hygienist, and I've let him know what's going on in this practice. He basically said any complaints or whatever that they have against you, goes, don't sign them.
Right.
So I actually had an issue where some blood was found in a unit that I didn't even finish set up. I started to clean it. The assistant came in behind me. I didn't want to throw her under the bus, so I just sucked it up. I just didn't think anything would come of it. The next thing I know, I'm under the carpet with the operations manager wanting me to sign it. I'm like, and I refused to sign it, and I told her the whole story. She's new to the company. It's another layer of corporate corporation or position. And I told her a lot about how I was feeling persecuted there and how I think they're trying to get rid of me. And I said, I think the only thing that's really saving me there is the fact that my patients love me, that the only thing they ask about when they get the call from them is if they're going to see me.
Yeah.
So I think that, that's what's the love that the patients have for me is what's allowing me to stay there.
Yeah, for them it's probably a challenge. Like, okay, we have a hygienist that's being paid pretty well. In their mind, they're probably thinking like, I'd rather just hire somebody else at a lower rate.
Absolutely. Because
they all-
the other office,
Yeah.
the other practice that I work at, they're changing the whole way that they pay hygienists. And I just actually resigned there because they want to cut my pay, my hourly rate, almost in half, and then do like a base pay plus commissions on collection, meaning like what my 11% commission will be based on what the insurance company pays for a particular service.
Right.
So it's going to be a bookkeeping nightmare for me to try to keep track of how much I'm supposed to owe. I'm not going to have any kind of real knowledge to know like week to week what I'm going to get paid. And most people work to make a living, to pay bills.
Yeah.
They want security in what
some
their
security
work
at least, yeah.
right
Yeah.
is going to pay them.
Yeah.
So what I basically see this is hygiene is going to pay the price for cancellations and no-shows because they don't want to pay a high rate of salary to a hygienist that's sitting there when there's no patient to be seen.
It's basically transferring the risk of business to the hygiene pay, which in a way it's okay if the hygienist agrees to it and the schedule is strong and they can make more money, that way. If you want to take on the risk as a hygienist, that's cool, you know.
Right.
But most hygienists don't want to do that. Or if they can't keep the schedule full, then you're going to lose out.
Well,
So-
that's another thing. They
Yeah.
put the whole onus of keeping the schedule full on the hygienist. And I, like the hygiene, we are supposed to send out all the cards to the patients, the reminder cards. That's all falls on the hygienist. To making the calls, to remind the reminder calls, the confirmation calls, all falls on the hygienist. The front desk doesn't have to do any of that. So they don't absorb any of the risk. And another thing that they do is they will condense the schedule. For example, I just worked at that office one afternoon. So if the other girl's schedule was falling apart, they'd pull from my schedule and fill them and then cut me, my time.
Right.
Which initially I didn't really care because that was my 1 day a week job. That was just
Yeah.
my play money.
Right.
So I
Yeah.
always accepted that because I was still getting a good hourly rate for when I went there anyway. But I have to take a stand on behalf of hygienists, and I write on behalf of what they're doing and how,
Right.
like how I see it as a hygienist, right,
Yeah.
to the corporate. Because what corporate dentistry is as opposed to the small practice is that you have a whole other layer up on top of the basic practice
Right.
that's sucking off production. They want to make all the big money, so now I'm like a slave working in the trenches making money for them instead of being a respected clinician. So they want to throw everything at me that I can do with less time to do it because they want all of that production money that they can suck off the insurance companies and pay them and not pay me. And that's what scares me about
The corporate trend, which is
corporate
basically
trend.
a trend that's going to probably continue.
And
most
it
likely.
happens not only in my field, but in other fields too, because I go to lunch every day at this place, and one of the guys I have lunch with there, his wife is a pediatrician, and he says that she faces the same thing where they, sometimes she's there 2 or 3 hours later, either, having to stay late with patients or paperwork.
Yeah.
Paperwork, because you have to document
Right,
everything.
everything.
And anything that a patient declines, you have a form for that.
Oh, yeah. That's that was the answer for me in the Air Force. Like anything that's something went wrong, it was always a new checklist that he has to sign, you have to sign. You got to initial this, check off this.
Nothing that has to do with
Right, yeah.
real care. It's all
Exactly.
about covering your ass.
CYA. Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah. And you mentioned collections, Karen, because there are different ways the hygienists get paid. Obviously, it's like salary, which is not really common. It's mostly hourly wage.
Right.
hourly wage, or you can get a base salary a daily or whatever hourly, and then you get like a commission on top of that. But even that commission, it can either be production or collection.
Right.
Whereas collection is based on them actually getting the money.
Them getting the money, and then
So if
what
they-
that,
yeah.
because like different insurance
Right.
companies reimburse at different
Yeah.
rates. Like Delta might pay
Right.
$68 for a
Right.
cleaning, whereas Cigna might pay $45 for a cleaning.
Yeah, so like for example, like say the insurance is paying 100, the contract fee for your office is whatever, let's say $80. So the insurance is going to pay 80. With the insurance, usually they're going to pay like pro fees. It's pretty straightforward. But like other cases where it's a percentage, or like for period maintenance, like a 20% or whatever, if the front desk doesn't collect that and you have a poor collection rate, or say they're not processing the insurance claims, I'm not sure how that works exactly. That means your pay goes down because their collection procedure is
good.
not good.
But they don't, the front desk people don't pay a price,
Yeah.
just hygiene. We
Right.
are affected
Right.
by them not doing a job to benefit the office,
Right.
because there's no incentive or disincentive for them not to do that.
And that's really out of the hands of the hygienist. I mean,
Exactly.
the hygienist, first of all, doesn't have time, and it's not their job to, take payments from patients
Right.
or process,
Exactly.
insurance claims and all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff.
When we were in hygiene school, we were taught, oh, don't even care about insurance. That
Yeah.
should not be your
They didn't even talk
concern.
about it. Yeah.
No,
They-
your
yeah.
concern is the health and well-being of
Yeah.
the patient.
What your patient needs is all you care about.
But
right?
people in business, they don't care about the patient, really. That's what I'm finding in corporate dentistry. It's not anything
Yeah.
about what the patient is going to benefit.
Yeah.
It's how the corporation is
Yeah.
going to benefit from profiting on
Yeah.
what they can get out of the insurance companies or
Yeah.
the patient. And that is a real
Yeah.
sad
It's not to
state.
say that they can't be good. I mean, I've heard some good things about like Heartland, for example, but I would agree with you in general that corporate, industry in the dental field or medical too, is just I think it's more bad than good in general.
I agree. The patient
Yeah.
is the one that loses out. But I feel that I'm losing out too, because
Yeah.
I can't do the job that I was trained to do in the way I love to do it. It's impossible for me with the constraints that are now being placed on
Yeah.
me. I can't do my job to serve my patients.
Yeah. And one of the things that I hope is the trend also is that hygienists are starting to get more independent. We have the public health hygienist thing in the state. Other states have it. Colorado has complete independence. You can open up your own hygiene practice if you wanted. Now, some will say it's not really a good profitable business, but that's another story. But they can do it. It's been that way since 1998. California kind of has it. So it's kind of a trend that's kind of going. They're going for that mid-level practitioner where you're kind of like a dentist light, I guess.
Right. Dentist light.
Yeah,
I like
dentist
that.
light. So you can hopefully that trend continues too, to give hygienists more opportunity to not which I can't stand, is you have to get permission from the dentist. Because right now you basically have to be hired by a dentist or a corporation, but it's
Right.
dental owned or whatever.
Right.
So hopefully that trend continues, so hygienists can actually use their license to
Right.
do their own thing, whether it's going into preschools or going into senior homes or whatever it is.
Right.
They can at least have a more options to get away from. Because I mean, I don't like that. I don't like having to rely on, a company or whatever to make money.
Yeah, exactly. Unfortunately, that's
Unfortunately, that's the case for most hygienists. But
right.
yeah.
Right.
But
So it has not, my little lovely practice going under the veil of corporate, I call it corporate cutthroat sharks,
right. Yeah.
has not been good for me.
Yeah.
And we're going to lose, we already have lost patients over it.
Yeah.
They're looking, they want that personal connection. They want to feel welcome and warm. And I have spoken to my dentist. I says, one person, I says, it's amazing, I went from heaven to hell.
Yeah.
And really one person,
Yeah.
the office manager at my practice, has made that difference in my life just because of the way she views me and the way she views our patients. And I have written many text messages to my dentist about what's going on. I said, you need to talk to this one. I tell him.
Yeah.
because he really is kind of clueless in his little world back there.
Yeah,
It's not
yeah.
really affecting him all that much.
Yeah.
But I don't want to be constant
Right.
crybaby either.
Yeah, right.
But I also have to look out for myself
Yeah.
because I'm not getting any younger. That's for sure.
You're still 30.
But it's harder. It's harder. Like
Yeah.
my daughter, of course, she can walk in. She's a hygienist too, as you
Right.
know.
Yeah.
Because she's so young and gorgeous, she could walk in and flash those pearly whites at
right.
anybody
Yeah.
and get a job.
Right.
Me, on the other hand, it
Yeah.
wouldn't be as.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I can remember lamenting to you when I was studying for those
Yeah.
board exams. I'm like turning 30.
Yeah.
Who's going to want to hire a 50-year-old inexperienced dental hygienist anyway?
Right.
But actually, my
works out,
dentist,
yeah.
he wanted someone that was
Yeah.
more. Even though I wasn't experienced, I have lots of life
Yeah, life
experience.
experience. And a big part, like we were saying about this, with the dental world, is having a connection with the patients, because it's such a personal thing.
Yeah.
People are afraid of the dentist. There's all kinds of issues. People are very
Right.
afraid. And you're in that personal zone, what everybody called it at school.
You are.
Right, you're in that zone. So
Yeah.
people are very embarrassed by their teeth or whatever.
Right.
So that's kind of a somewhat unique situation where it's not the same as if you were selling whatever, pencils or something. It's not,
Well, you see them every
Yeah.
6 months, some every 3 months. They know your family.
Right.
You know their family. You know where they go on vacation. You know everything about them.
Right.
And it's like, it's a more of a connection.
And they trust you because you have some dental knowledge, obviously, because you're a hygienist.
Right.
And most patients don't, and they don't have the time to learn.
Exactly.
So they rely on you a lot of times.
They do.
And that trust is a huge thing. And I mean, even though patients might not know what you're saying, they can sense your personality and how you are. So,
Right.
I trust this person.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
Because-
I have that so much.
Yeah, like I don't know, like say you're trying to convince somebody to do SRP, and that patient's thinking like, do I need SRP or is this some kind of, push for production because,
Right,
you know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, because
Yeah.
we're having a training on this new product, Veloscope.
Yeah, the oral cancer screening thing.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's not covered by insurance.
Yeah.
So they're setting up this whole new bonus system for hygiene.
Right.
Like you have to reach so much quota. But if we're not able to push 3 Veloscopes within a month,
Right.
our bonus is null and void.
Right,
So
right.
they're really pushing this.
Yeah. Which all these things with commission and bonuses and stuff, it's like anything else. It's good and bad. Like in
I
my
don't want to
case,
be a salesman.
like in my case, I don't care if I'm pushed for time or whatever. I just do what I feel the patient needs. If I make less money for that, that's on me and that's my choice. I would do that.
Right.
But on some people, they're gonna go the other way with that.
Right.
They're gonna, do kind of a half-ass prophy or whatever they're gonna do because they can see more patients.
Well,
you know?
I've already seen evidence of it from the factory,
Yeah.
the assisted hygiene
Yeah.
person. I mean, I've seen 2 of her patients now that's come to
Right.
me to
Yeah.
get like a more
Yeah.
classic
Yeah.
cleaning.
Right.
They want to see me.
Yeah.
Even though she's young and hot.
Yeah.
I'm old and good.
And that's the issue too with patients, because if they go in for SRP or prophy or whatever it is, and they see a hygienist and they're scraping away whatever they're doing, but they're not really getting in the tough areas, the
yeah.
molars or whatever, and they're like kind of flying through it. But their mouth is sort of beat up from the cleaning, so they feel like they got a cleaning. Then they go to you or me or whoever, and we're thorough, but they kind of feel the same, like because they got beat up, So a lot of cases, patients don't know what they're getting quality-wise.
Right.
Not all cases, of course, cosmetic things, or their gums feel better over time, whatever it is. Or like say sealants, or kids especially, they don't really care,
No.
They don't know if the sealant is good or bad.
Right.
So it's very easy to get away with doing what I call half-ass whatever procedures.
Right.
And the patients don't know, parents don't know.
Right. I had no idea how lucky I was that I had a good dentist growing up until I looked at my own x-rays and from a different perspective.
Right.
And I'm like, wow, here I am, 30,
Yeah,
and I have
so-
all of my teeth.
Yeah.
And I really have no pocketing to speak of. And I don't know if that's genetics or you know, I just had good dental care growing up, and it was enforced, and so you know, my kids, you know, I just look generation to generation in my family. I mean, my grandparents were completely edentulous.
Right.
My mother had
Which
bridges
that
and
was like
crowns.
normal back then. That was expected.
Exactly.
That was expected, yeah.
And then, you know, I've got all my teeth, but I've got restorations and crowns. I said, my kids, they've never even had a cavity.
Right, right.
It's amazing how prevention has taken off.
And it's not to say that there are situations where dental professionals they're not aggressive enough sometimes. I mean, that does happen.
Right.
But I think often it's the other way around, where somebody is borderline, whatever it is, borderline prophy, or prophy SRP, or filling crown, you know, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Filling, you know, whatever it is. And too many people, for whatever reasons, you know, they just push too much, and patients know that. That's the reality. I've seen it in my time as a hygienist. I mean, I've seen the abuse of insurance and all this kind of stuff. So patients are not stupid. It does happen.
Right.
A lot of times they're like overboard with their, you know, I don't want to do that, or that's nah, you know.
Right.
But we kind of pay for that too, because they might have had bad experiences. Sorry about the phone.
Oh, that's my house phone, so it's nothing.
Okay. Yeah, so they might have had bad experiences before, and then they come to you and they definitely need SRP, but they don't quite believe you because of their experiences in the past, you know, and that's unfortunate, you know. So, and I think that's all right. But I think
never rings.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that number is.
But I think in general, though, like we're talking about corporate now, is that I think corporate is making that situation worse, because there is small practices that do the same thing, no doubt.
Oh yes.
But I think that you know, like we were saying, too many layers between the patient and the,
right. There's too many people sucking off of.
And my experience is that the people on top, there are too many business people, not enough dental people. Not to say it's not a bad thing. I mean, it's bad to have business people, because I think a lot of dentists don't have business training, and it's kind of good.
Right. Well, that's why
yeah.
my dentist wanted to give up his practice, because
Yeah.
he was terrible at it.
Right.
He was horrible at it.
Because they got no business training.
Nope.
They don't want to do that. You know,
No.
they think to themselves as a dentist, because back in the day, you know, you can just have an office open up in 1975 and you're gonna get patients, you know.
Right.
But now it's a little bit different.
It's so complicated.
Yeah, so they don't, you know, they probably don't think about it too much, maybe. I'm not sure, because they just focus on clinical and all that.
Right.
And they get out in the real world and they open up their practice, and they're like, I gotta manage these staff, you know.
Right, and he didn't.
Yeah, I gotta.
My dentist is not like any kind of confrontation at all, and so like, if there's any kind of kibitzing going on, he didn't. You know, we basically worked things out ourselves. We were able to do whatever we wanted. You know, pretty much when we wanted to do it.
Yeah.
Which made my job really pleasant, because the dentist, he respected my judgment, and I could pretty much do what I needed to do for my patient. He never questioned it.
Yeah.
It was now it's like.
That's the other thing too, because a lot of times, like from corporate, they'll have their standards or whatever, and they're pushing things, and they have their number crunchers. They're going through stuff, and they'll say like, whatever it is, like only 30% or 5% or 2% of adults are getting fluoride, and then they want to push fluoride on adults or whatever it is. So what happens a lot of too is that the dentists, even though they're technically in charge, a lot of times they get pressure, and then 'cause I know that happens. They get pressure from corporate saying, you're doing too much of this or not enough of this. Like, what's going on?
Yeah, like this front desk person, like, she knows everybody's policy, what's covered. She goes, oh, this patient they get 3 cleanings a year, so we're scheduling them 3 cleanings a year. This patient, their plans, they've got the best plan. They get fluoride. So whatever the patient gets from their insurance, that's what we are supposed, that's what treatment plans, what the patient can get out of the insurance, not what the patient needs or what the patient
And what
wants.
happens there, which I've seen too, is that if the insurance doesn't cover it, then they didn't even bother or put very little time into convincing a patient about something that they need, but that they maybe can't afford, or they think they can't afford.
Right.
and they just focus on, okay, what's the insurance cover? Let's knock that out.
Yes.
Keep going, keep moving, keep
Right,
moving.
exactly. It's
Yeah.
all about what they can get from the insurance, and
Mm-hmm.
not what the patient might need, or and even, especially with Mass Health, they
Yeah. Or any Medicaid program, really.
minimum time,
Yeah.
minimum care,
Yeah.
maximum
Yeah.
money.
Yeah. And there's the issue too with Mass Health or Medicaid in general. Is the challenge there that we have is the no-show rate. So you have to overbook, and it gets all
Well,
crazy. Yeah.
see that I don't think that's right. That I think just because someone's on Medicare, they should be responsible.
Right.
They should be held
They should make
responsible.
them responsible,
They
yeah.
should have to pay a fee for not showing up. But I think that's
Yeah, they can't
key
charge them anything though.
in a lot of things, like even restaurants, like you can't even book a massage now. They don't take your credit card, or if you have
Right.
if you have a gift certificate, well, we want the number on that gift certificate. If you don't show the value on that gift certificate is gone. So other businesses can do that. They value, their money and their time is valued.
Yeah.
Why shouldn't the time of a dental office
Yeah.
be valued? Because it is about time and money. When you block
Yeah.
off a slot for someone, they don't show, you can't
There's
recoup that.
there's a cost, and you have bills to pay that day, whether you're there or not. You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying?
So
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but the patients, if they miss, I'm all for the like two strikes, and then
whatever it
the
is.
third one you're out, you pay.
Yeah.
Then
I think that's actually the policy, but I think in reality, a lot of times it is. I don't know.
they let it
I don't
slide
know
all
if
the time.
I don't know if it's the bureaucratic process of that. Like you have to report it, and then the patient will say, well, like, we missed the bus. It's tough for us to get to the thing. Which in some cases, yeah, people don't have cars, they don't have money or whatever.
Yeah,
I
I
understand
know.
that, but still, yeah. But
It's-
anyways, I mean, that's a big challenge.
Yeah, but
too.
how can I pay their welfare bills if I'm not working?
Yeah, you gotta show up so I can.
If you don't show up, I can't make the money to pay for your food stamps.
Yeah, yeah.
You're getting this free on my back anyway.
Yeah.
You might as well show up.
Yeah, so I mean, that is the issue. I mean, with Medicaid or commercial insurance, that people are just focused too much on what the insurance cover. Let's knock that out.
Right.
Like you had a story about the radiographs. I know, like in school, we had the guidelines that we went by. That can range from like with kids with high caries risk every 6 months to 3 years.
Oh, right.
With X-rays.
Oh, yeah. Well, that was
Yeah.
another thing that
Yeah.
an issue was. My dentist. I have this patient. He's 28 years old.
Mm-hmm.
He's never had a cavity.
Yeah.
So my dentist says he only has to have X-rays every 2 years, 24 months.
Yeah.
The front desk, she came down on me
Yeah.
and basically accused my dentist of being negligent. And so I passed that on to him. And, so he's fighting this. He's
Yeah.
trying to correct things as I point them out,
Yeah.
to him about what's going on. And so
It's probably weird for
hopefully-
him though, being there. Like he's sold the practice.
Yeah,
But he's there as an kind of associate.
Oh,
I
yeah,
guess.
he's an employee now.
Yeah, it must be weird.
She's this 28-year-old
person.
is his boss.
Yeah.
And she actually, but she comes to me when she has an issue.
Right.
Like we had a patient that came in for a cleaning. Dentist found a couple of small cavities. They had moved from the area out to like in the western suburbs somewhere. So he had a cancellation in his schedule. So he wanted to fit the kid in and say, I'll do this now because I had a cancellation. I'll fill these now. So when I went up to the front desk to say, doctor, he's going to fill these cavities now.
Right.
She comes back and starts yelling at me. He can't do that. He's already behind and blah-de-blah. And I says, well, he's just concerned because of the patient. The patient has to travel like
Right,
2.5 hours to
Yeah.
get here one way.
Right.
He's saving the kid a trip.
Yeah.
And if someone has to wait an additional 15 minutes out in the waiting room, I think he's weighing
Yeah,
that.
the
And
benefits,
yeah,
yeah.
I
Yeah.
said that's his choice. He's the
Yeah.
dentist.
Yeah.
I don't even know why you're talking to me, but
Right.
she'll always come. I just think she hates me so much. She likes to yell at me for whoever has screwed up her day for whatever reason.
Right,
She,
right.
That matter of fact, that's the only time she ever talks to me is when she wants to
Hi.
yell at me.
Good morning.
No good morning, no
No, no.
nothing. She does not look at me, does
Yeah.
not acknowledge me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's a real issue. But
Yeah.
I have plenty of friends.
Yeah.
I don't need that.
Yeah, the older I get, Karen, the more I want to have my own thing, man. You know what I'm saying?
Oh. I would.
I enjoy being with a team. I also like, having that.
But to have your own team would be nice.
Would be nice, yeah.
It would be nice. People
Yeah.
of like-mindedness, which is what I had really
right, so yeah.
before the merge.
Yeah.
We were all in it. We were all on the
Yeah.
same page, and it was
Right.
basically to service our patients
Right.
for what they need
Yeah.
and what they could afford. Like
Right,
some
right.
people can't afford the Cadillac.
Yeah.
Other people can only afford the Volkswagen used.
Right, yeah.
And my dentist would do the best that he could for them with what they could afford to pay.
Right, exactly.
And
He was flexible,
He
basically.
was very flexible
Yeah.
with them as far,
Yeah.
with everything.
Mm-hmm.
He's just a very good guy.
Yeah.
And it's just a shame that his wonderful patients that loved him and respected us are now being subject to this
Yeah.
factory.
Right, yeah.
And I really think that he was sold a line, and he
Yeah.
bid it hook, line, and sinker just to jump out of dealing with the business end of the practice. But,
The unfortunate thing about this corporate trend, too, is that means there'll be fewer and fewer of the small practices.
Yeah, because they're looking
Right.
for them. They're hunting them down.
Yeah, they're looking for them, yeah. And
promising them
yeah,
the
so that's
world.
fewer opportunities for hygienists to find the place they fit,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but I mean now the economy isn't the best as far as the market for hygiene jobs, but still, I mean,
It's been flooded,
yeah,
unfortunately.
it'll get better, I'm sure, in the future. But again, if you have that trend, fewer places to go.
Well,
Yeah.
I went to my own dentist, that I've been going to because I know that the hygienists there are even older than I am.
Yeah.
Because I've been going there my whole life. Going, I says, I hate my job now.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
awful. But there's one hygienist there. She's 75 years old and still practicing.
Right.
And then my own hygienist, she's probably pushing 70.
Yeah.
She has no desire
Right.
to quit either.
Right.
But because of the economy
Yeah.
and the fact that really hygienists don't get good benefits, the benefit that hygiene gets is the good pay.
Yeah, usually it's part-time, yeah. So
Right.
always combining part-time.
There's people practicing into their staying late.
Yeah.
So the young people coming out with all this debt
Right.
are, have to basically
Yeah.
push the old
Well, with that,
hygienists
I mean, you got
out.
the issue with the dentists too. Like they're coming out with crazy debt now. Talking like 300,000
Oh,
for whatever it
yeah,
is.
it's crippling.
They can't afford. Well, maybe a few can, but most can't. They can go. They have to work for somebody.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of these dentists that are, because the economy is, not that great, but they can't afford to hire an associate. So where are they going to go? They're going to go to the corporate offices that are looking for them.
Exactly. Right. Well, in my
So I understand that they have to pay their bills and
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. But then there's fewer opportunities for the hygienists. But because a lot of times I think what's happening too is some of the dentists are basically doing hygiene / op work, at the same time to kind of fill their schedule.
Right.
And then that
Right.
takes away from
one of
hygiene.
my friends, hygiene friends, that's what she says. Like if the dentist's schedule falls apart for him, he basically makes her punch out and he takes her patients.
Yeah, right. That's
Which
not
is
right.
so
Yeah.
bad.
If you're gonna pay somebody an hourly wage or daily wage or whatever, I mean, you're really guaranteeing that person hours.
Yeah.
It's different. Like I said,
Yeah. He's stealing from her, in my opinion.
If you agree with the hygienist, like if I was in a small practice and it was a really good, busy practice and I loved everybody, it was a great team, and they wanted to offer me a straight commission and I had an opportunity to make like,
More money.
$60 an hour, like a lot of money an hour,
Yeah.
I would take the risk personally.
Right.
Most people don't want to take that risk. I understand that.
Right.
But that has to be up front. It has to be, both agree to it.
I think that everybody should have an incentive.
Right.
Like that's my my big bitch with like what my other office was doing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We, as hygienists, were the only ones that were going to take the hit. Nobody else was going to take the hit, assistants or front desk. They get paid regardless. Hygiene was going to either get, have to punch out or whatever,
Right,
have their
right.
day cut,
Yeah.
or now it's going to be you get the flat rate, and if no one shows, you get penalized.
It's a low flat rate, whatever it is, per
Right.
day, or hour per
Nobody
day,
else
whatever.
is,
Yeah.
and I see. I don't even know if they've gotten raises through the years. Where my
Right,
rate.
yeah.
Oh, hygiene. There's a hatred. Because like
It's friction.
between assistants and
Yeah.
people, because they know what we make, and
Right.
they think that our job is. They have no idea what our job entails, or really what the physicality of our
Right.
job.
Yeah.
And
And I think too, just the
but they could have done it. That's why I
right.
chose it
Yeah.
initially.
Right,
I
right.
mean, I went online. I looked
Yeah.
at jobs that paid the most.
right. yeah.
Hygiene was right
Yeah.
up there.
That's the primary.
I just was hoping that I wouldn't get too grossed out
right. Yeah.
by putting my hands in someone's mouth.
Which now it's like I don't even think about it.
No, I thoroughly enjoy dental hygiene.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just love everything about it
Yeah.
except the corporate,
Yeah.
that end of it. I love my one-on-one with my patients. I have, even though, I feel that I have a real knack to relate with people from
Right.
all ages.
Which is a huge thing.
Yeah.
Which is a huge thing.
Young people, I love my young people, and my old people, I love my old people,
Yeah.
and then, men, women, different races, ethnicities, weights.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you have a lot of dentists, I think they're, in general, a conservative bunch. They go into a scientific, clinical type occupation. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of them, they don't have the business background. Some of them are kind of introverted. They don't really like to talk to the patients.
Right.
Because I've seen a lot of dentists, some, that just don't relate to the patients well. And they kind of rely on the hygienist to talk up what they do.
Exactly.
And if you don't work for somebody, whether it's corporate or whoever, if you don't really like what they do or how they do things, it's tougher to sell what they do.
It is tough for me because I am so opinionated and so outspoken.
Right.
Sometimes it definitely bites me, but I can't. I won't compromise who I am, and I will always speak my truth.
Truth, yeah.
And try to fix things. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And whether it ends up burning me. I mean, when my patients come in and ask me questions, I say the truth to them. And
well, to me, it's just to me, I like to see it as I kind of get that with most dentists. Maybe because I'm a guy, I'm not sure, older guy. But I kind of get that co-professional attitude, which I think it should be for all hygienists. Because we have enough education and experience to be able to, and most dentists rely on us basically to manage perio, which they don't want to deal with it,
Right.
So that's a big thing. It's it's a money maker and all that. It's a good thing for the patient and so on and so forth. So I think a lot of times, whether it's corporate, I think corporate's worse, but if a dentist micromanages a hygienist too much, it's not good, Or corporate's even worse because they're micromanaging from a higher level in different ways with, Karen, it's like 2.3 X-rays per patient. That's kind of low, Can you explain that? I'm like, 2.3, I don't know.
Well, I had a broken tooth.
Yeah. Because I enjoy talking. I mean, when I get an opportunity to talk to corporate in my job, I enjoy talking to them when they show up because they do come a lot.
Right.
And I talk to them about a lot of stuff. The biggest thing that I bring up is the Medicaid situation where the show rate's low, and how do we manage that with staffing and all that kind of stuff.
Well, dentists need to advocate for themselves at that level of insurance.
Right.
Because if they're not advocating for themselves, the insurance company's going to screw the dentists.
Yeah.
Because they can.
Right.
Like, well, let's cut the rate of reimbursements by 15% across the board to the dentist.
Yeah.
That's why there's no raises.
All right. Well, we'll close up. We're almost done.
Okay, almost.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
All right, Karen.
Anyway.
Yeah, we'll stop there.
Okay.
So basically, the bottom line is this trend for corporate is not good.
It's not good
I don't
for...
agree. I'm a libertarian. I like freedom, but I don't see corporations as freedom.
No, absolutely not.
It's a government-backed structure.
You think it is?
I think it is. Yeah. Well, they work together. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
they pay off each other. I mean, they
Yeah.
buy but
The corporate structure is not something you can just contract freely. It's something that's approved by the government, and you can become be a corporation and have limited liability. Like the whole limited liability thing. That's a whole political thing we can get to later. Yeah, but I don't like that. But because to me, you kind of hide behind that structure in many ways. I don't like it.
no,
But, you know.
no.
All right,
Well,
Karen.
thank you for
That was fun.
asking for
That was
my
good.
opinion.
We should have like a monthly coffee with Karen.
Well, how's it going now?
Yeah.
You know?
Let's talk about Caitlyn Jenner. No, whatever.
Oh my God.
Now we stop there, Karen.
Oh, okay.
All right.